Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. For those that don't know, there was a $6 billion, that's with a B, billion, a lot of money, settlement, $6 billion settlement for the faulty earplugs from 3M or one of its subsidiaries. In any case, this was a multiple year long process with lots of ups and downs. There was a bunch of trial cases that got tried, and veterans won, 3M won, but the veterans won more. Now, there's some updates here that I want to share. I found an article on this specific thing, but just the fast version is all of these different trial cases ran through. 3M decided, you know what, it's better if we just throw out a settlement. They threw out the settlement of $5 billion plus $1 billion in 3M stock. And there's all kind of approvals and things that had to happen. And now it's still not a full settlement. What has to happen now is the veterans or military members that maybe they're still in have to agree to the settlement, and it's a certain percentage. And I can't remember off the top of my head. It might be in this article that I'm going to read you. I believe, if I remember right, it was 98% have to agree with the settlement in order for it to keep moving forward. So with that, the headline here is 3M's earplug settlement on track as veterans and service members opt in to the $6 billion deal. Now, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Hitting that thumbs up doesn't cost a nickel. The more you watch this, the more it puts it into other people's hands, which is also helpful. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. You can do so by going to the home page, and you should see highlighted members there and a join button. And one other exciting piece of news is I have partnered up with the CivDiv. Clay and I got together and put together a joint channel where we can talk about topics like this, for example, and go back and forth and have some dialogue around it in a more longer format where we could do a little deep diving. So that channel is called Veterans Daily, and I'll put that in the comments as well. All right, so let's jump into this. All right, so 3M's earplug settlement on track as veterans and service members opt in to the $6 billion deal. An attorney for the plaintiffs, now numbering over 276,000, said they believe the 98% participation threshold to uphold the deal will soon be met. That's that 98% threshold that I was talking about. So it has to be met in order for the deal to stay solid. Now, look, I'm not going to waver either way on it, but I am pretty sure that there are some folks out there that have hearing issues, hearing loss, coupled with major tinnitus, that whatever the deal that is offered is not substantial enough, considering the amount of money that some of these trial cases were able to pull in favor of the veterans. So, if your situation warrants a much higher payout, definitely have a conversation with your attorney and see what that looks like. Moving on, more than 30,000 military veterans and service members have formally agreed to 3M settlement over allegedly faulty earplugs, prompting 3M to issue $253 million in payments earlier than expected. Interesting. So, if I remember right, there's what they call a case locker. So it's kind of like going into e-benefits or something. So you can go into this secured portal with either your lawyer or Archer, the administrator of these funds and the process or whatever, Archer, and go into this case locker portal and sign your paperwork. And it pulls it up. You go through it. You check it. You pull it up. It comes up in a DocuSign, and you sign that. However, there has been a calamity of issues with the technology, and things weren't going through. And so there has been a major delay in a lot of this. I would not be surprised if the judge allowed for a push down date if the issues continue, because again, if I remember right, the end date to sign all that stuff is this month. It's toward the end of this month. I don't remember the exact date. But in any case, if you weren't able to sign it, you need to be contacting your attorney or Archer or both. All right, so let's move on here. The payments will be made by the end of the month to several thousand plaintiffs. So that's the other piece. There was conversations about, if you completed your paperwork early, you could be being paid as early as the first quarter of this month, all the way through. The first kind of wave is this first year. So that's some good news for those that do agree with their settlements. So the payments will be made by the end of the month to several thousand plaintiffs who were preparing to go to trial as the settlement was drafted and have now agreed to participate in the settlement and release their claims, 3M said in a news release this week. Very interesting. Moving on. 3M previously set aside $250 million in initial payments for the more than 30,000 claimants at the end of December. The milestone is significant because a nearly unanimous level of acceptance is needed from the 276,000 claimants in order for the $6 billion settlement announced last summer to be valid. Again, that's that 98% of the 276,000. Now, that 276,000, I already know some of you out there are going, that number is higher or whatever. My understanding is they keep jockeying around the numbers because you could have been contacted by multiple attorney firms and kind of on their books, so to speak. It's kind of like if you belong to American Legion, DAV, and VFW, well, you're counted 3 times, right? When the numbers get reported to DC of memberships, right? So you're 3 of you all of a sudden. So they can't have 3 of you in this, although that would be nice. They can't have 3 of you, receiving money. So they're figuring out any duplicates and so forth. So moving on, we are pleased with 3M's decision to move up this payment and appreciate its commitment to the resolution of these claims. An attorney for the plaintiffs who is Brian Alstock, said Tuesday. So far, support for the settlement has been overwhelmingly, and we expect to meet the intend to exceed the 98% participation threshold provided. Man, that's a lot of funny words for me, apparently. So they anticipate to pass the 98% threshold, and that they'll go ahead and push forward with the settlement agreement in the coming weeks. So the Maplewood-based company announced the settlement in August after nearly 5 years of litigation amassed into one of the largest mass torts in U.S. history. So yes, it's a multi-district litigation, but it is in fact a mass tort. And it's a big one with the $6 billion payout. So more than 250,000 veterans and active service members blamed hearing damage on combat arms earplugs made by 3M subsidiary. I think it's Aero Technologies, and sold them to the military from 1999 to 2015. 3M, which acquired Aero in 2008, maintained the earplugs were safe when used properly. So, whatever that means. Moving on. 3M says in the settlement that it has received strong and widespread support from claimants and the broader military community. The company can walk away from the remaining settlement payments if the 98% participation threshold is not met, though 3M is not required to do so. Earlier this month, a federal judge signed off on 3M's plan to issue the $1 billion in stock that I had mentioned to help pay for the settlement. Payments will be made in phases through 2029. And again, there's going to be a first wave coming up here. Some of the more in-depth claims where there's, combinations of issues are going to be pushed out to a later date for full payment. For those that are, let's just say, tinnitus solely, those ones will be moving a little quicker. The larger settlement 3M announced last year involving PFAS contamination. So this is their other issue. So in addition to the earplug litigation, there was also this PFAS litigation that they're dealing with, which is those forever chemicals. So the larger settlement 3M announced last year involves PFAS contamination in drinking water. Heads to a final hearing next month. The class action deal with Public Water Systems is worth up to $12.5 billion. 3M is just taking it in the shorts. The settlement also requires a certain percentage of claimants to participate, but that threshold is not public. According to court filings, 170 valid opt-outs were received out of more than 14,000 potential class members. The relatively small number of opt-outs and overwhelming class member participation in the settlement demonstrates overall support for the settlement. Attorneys for the water systems wrote last month. Lastly here, the judge overseeing the case previously warned skittish cities and public utilities to accept the settlement or risk languishing in litigation into the 2030s, which is kind of part of the same message that we received as veterans with the hearing plugs or earplugs. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it there. I really appreciate you for watching, and I am glad to be able to give you that update that things are still moving along. Again, if you have not signed any of your paperwork regarding the settlement or had a chance to read it, reach out to your attorney or Archer Systems. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one, and remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.